Good evening. So I am Carmen, and I am one of the co-chairs of the Women's SIG, and want to get everyone started, whether tonight viewing us live or later on viewing this with a recording. So this is now our third installment of our Women Under Marketing Speaker Series. So this was developed and came to be after our business meeting this year at the virtual AGPA Connect. It's been exciting to get this off the ground, and we are also hoping to find a way to market more effectively to be able to get our speakers the audience that they deserve for their time. So we will be looking to find a way to reach more of you live. And we're grateful for those of you who have made the time. Thank you for being here with us this evening. And now I will pass it over to my co-chair, Dr. Rochelle Renee.
Thanks, Carmen, and thank you all for those that are joining us. We are so excited, and we think you too will be delighted in our speaker this evening, the illustrious, awesome, and amazing Dr. Shunda McGahee. I look forward to sharing a little bit with you this evening about her, and really welcoming all of you that are live with us and those that will be watching about this really, really intriguing and wonderful topic. So just to start, a little bit about Dr. McGahee. She is the Medical Director of Ambulatory and Community Services at Beth Israel Lahey Behavioral Health Services, and has more than 18 years of experience in the medical field. Her interests are in community public mental health and academic clinical field teaching. She is a supervising psychiatrist for 3 residency programs and an instructor at the Harvard University School of Medicine. Dr. McGahee also has previously worked at Massachusetts Mental Health Center, Boston Healthcare for the Homeless, and Massachusetts Hospital, with experience in primary care, behavioral health integration, severe and persistent mental illness, substance use disorders, and academic clinical instruction. Dr. McGahee graduated from Howard University with a Bachelor's of Science in Chemistry. She attended Georgetown University School of Medicine for her medical degree. She went on to obtain training in internal medicine at University of Michigan Hospital Systems and adult psychiatry training at Massachusetts General and McLean Hospitals. She's board certified in psychiatry and addiction medicine. Dr. McGahee serves on the Advocates Boards of Director, BILH Diversity Strategic and Quality Committee, the AGPA Board of Directors, and Physicians Health Services Advisory Committee. Dr. McGahee also worked as a consultant for multiple community health centers throughout Boston. She lives in Boston, Massachusetts with her wife of 7 years. She's a caregiver to her father and niece. She has 2 Burmese cats that love to sleep on top of her at night. She enjoys all types of music, plays the guitar very badly, and loves garden. She is always wishing to make new friends. Everyone, please join me in welcoming our speaker for this evening, Dr. Shunda McGahee.
Wow, that was a mouthful. Thank you, everyone. Hey, Marsha, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Shunda?
I'm so good, girl. Thank you for the introduction, Rochelle.
Absolutely, you're most welcome. And just a word about that. We are really intentional about highlighting the accomplishments of women in the field. And so we really want to take the time to highlight and talk about your bio because it's important. Oftentimes we may gloss over these experiences, but for this speaker series, it's really important that this is something that we do. And so we're really intrigued about your topic for this evening, how to succeed when you hate networking. I imagine that probably resonates with a lot of us, a lot of people in general. So please share a little bit with us about, your road to success and hating networking.
So it's great to be here tonight, and thank you both for the honor of being asked to speak about this subject. Uh, um, I'm here under duress. You know, it a little bit embarrasses me to be so self-focused, but I think that that's a culturally ingrained thing that, you know, don't talk about yourself, be modest, be quiet. And so this is really me trying to break out of the mold that's been that I've been put in. Um, I I truly hate networking. I truly find it disgusting and deplorable. I think it is the most disingenuous, ridiculous, despiteful. It's just, I can't even say enough negative things about it. Um, I went to uh, uh, there's one story that comes to my mind. I went to my wife just got her a doctorate, and at the school that she went to, sorry, they have a like a meet and greet, and so you go to this club, and everyone has their badges, you know, what class they were in. And of course, I didn't graduate from this school, so I'm just looking around, and the mingling that was going on, like, so what do you do? And your LinkedIn profile. And I just thought, I don't know any of these people. When they see that I don't have the badge on, that I didn't graduate from this place, I felt so utterly awkward. And I could see people just mingling, talking, conversing, just really kind of giving their cards out, giving their LinkedIn, you know, check me out on this. And I sat in the corner sipping a seltzer water. It was horrible. It was horrible. And I was like, this is why I don't do this. This is why I hate this. It's not for me. Now, if you love that, if you are great in crowds and a great small talker and a great, you know, put your hand out and meet people and shake. This probably is not the talk for you. This is probably not the talk for you. But if you're at all like me, then maybe something I can say will be helpful. I did not prepare at all, more because I really wanted to be authentic in my experience as a professional, and not to have, you know, a bunch of bullet points or PowerPoint. Um, I I've had a lot of trials and tribulations, and so starting out, you know, as a college student, no one would ever say that girl. Now that girl is going to be something one day. You know, like I had a little fun. I had some indiscretions, one might say. You know, I was young, did some things, was not focused, and still have been able to get to where I am with while maintaining a certain sense of authenticity. And so, what does that mean for me, and how does that kind of evolve in my career? So, in general, I would call myself shy, distracted, unfocused, and undisciplined. And so that means that whatever I do, I actually have to like it. I actually have to like it, or else I am not going to do it. I would love to be able to do stuff that I hate, but I know myself. I can't do it. And so, really, my professional career has been based on where do I feel good? Where, like, who do I feel good around? And so if I felt good around you and liked you and liked doing what we were doing together, then you became my friend. It wasn't a networking thing. It wasn't like, oh, let me put your name down because I may need you in the future. You just became my friend. And so that has always been the guiding my guiding principle. Am I interested? Do I like it? Does it make me feel good? And do I like you? And so that has truly been the I think what has carried me through the years of being an anti-networker, meaning that I still speak to my college professors. I still email advisors from when I was in medical school. I still know people from when I worked at a pharmaceutical company. And not because I'm trying to keep them in my back pocket. I just like them. I just really like them. And all of this kind of genuine relationships with people have evolved. Like Marseille, Marcia, Renee, these are women that I met in AGPA that are here today, and I like them. I just like them. And
Same here.
who knows like what will become of the relationship. But what I have found is when I like it, something grows out of it. So been given this opportunity to speak today because Rochelle asked me. I mean, I've been given the opportunity to consult with Marcia because she's a nice person and doesn't mind me calling her. You know, I've talked to Marseille about multiple topics related to professionalism because she doesn't mind me asking her questions. And so, how does this translate into what happens at each stage of a person's career? Or in I should say in my career. So when people like you, they tend to do stuff for you. I mean, and I don't mean like they just do things um undeservedly. Like if I'm with someone or I'm working in a place, I'm going to minimally do my job because I like my job. But when people like you, they tend to like write you letters of recommendation. They tend to pick up the phone and call someone. They tend to do email introductions. So I don't have to network. It's almost done on my behalf. So I remember sitting with one of my professors in medical school, and I said, I need a letter of recommendation. He was like, oh, okay. Uh-huh. Tell me, and what do you like? Okay. Okay, done. Here you go. A beautiful letter of recommendation. And that's because of a relationship of
Mhm.
someone that I really admired, truly liked and enjoyed. Um, I have to say, I'm trying to think of a situation that I was in that I didn't like. Um, okay,
Mhm.
okay, okay. Um, when I was trying to apply for medical school, I told you I did some things in undergrad, some things.
Mhm.
And I was trying to get consultation around um, how should I approach going into medical school? This is something that I want to do. This is something that I've always wanted to do. And I got told by 5 people, you shouldn't go to medical school. You should go to nursing school. You should just give it up. No, you should go to be a PA. I think you could do that. Maybe you should do like maybe physical therapy or something like that. And all of those people I didn't like. I
Mhm.
didn't. I didn't like. I literally didn't like them. I had one conversation with someone that I liked and was really not trying to get them to do anything for me, but learning about them, getting advice from them, trying to determine like how is it that I can best position myself to do this, and out of that conversation came some really clear support and direction as to what I can do. And again, that person is someone that I'm still in contact with today. That person is the one that opened a door for me to to become a medical student. They didn't do the work. He didn't take the test for me. He didn't read the books for me. He didn't write the papers for me. But it's the relationship, the authentic, real relationship that kind of pushed something open for me. I feel like I'm not being very. I don't know. I wish I had some kind of like tricks or tips or like invest in yourself, learn the culture, uh, you know, study who you're gonna interview with. I've never done any of those things. I've never gone into an interview and like totally knew every paper the person wrote and totally knew the whole system. Like, I've just been like, do I like you? Do I like do I like this? And again, that is me. Other people may not need that. There's some people that say, I don't need to like you. I just need to like the job and the city or the neighborhood or whatever. But for me, being lazy, shy, distracted, unfocused, undisciplined, being that combination is what helps kind of contain me and propel me to the next steps. And I feel like I'm wondering kind of what people came here to hear, because I I almost feel like a little flippant, like, oh, I just like people and then I got into this school. Oh, I just like people and I got this job. I've 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 never applied for a job in my life. I've never written a cover letter. I've never uh I've never put my resume online. I've never I've been working for 20 years and not with the same organization. And again, it's because I just go where I like people. I mean, and that, but that's the way I've had to kind of be in my career. And that's how I have to be comfortable. And I'm very transparent. I'm very kind of clear about what's going to work for me, what's not going to work for me. And so that when the spider senses start tingling towards, I'm not going to like this, or I'm not going to like these people, or these people are not going to like me, that I know that that's not an environment. And I guess I'm wondering, as you all are hearing me saying this, what are you thinking? Are you thinking this chick is just, this is whack, this is ridiculous? What
No,
do you
but I
think?
have a question for you, Shonda. And the
Hmm.
question is, um, how does knowing yourself and self-awareness work for you in this process?
Thank you. That's a great question. Um, so I told you I did some things in college, and a part of that process for me was really, I call it, and I'm sure you all have heard this, it was just a time of mask, like face, what you put on your face. I really contorted myself to fit in with so many different crowds that by the time I was in my early 20s, mid 20s, I literally was miserable. I mean, I felt like if you were a party girl, I was a party girl. If you were a nerd, I was like, let's talk about E equals MC squared. If you were a church lady, I'm like, let's pray together, girl, let's pray. I mean, and it was just, it was it was such a difficult process to to go through this identity crisis of feeling so disconnected with any personal authenticity, that I was trying to fit myself so deeply into whatever crowd that I was in, that it got me depressed. It got me depressed, sullen, withdrawn, miserable. And it's when I really kind of moved into the process with therapy, with my friends, with group, to the self discovery of like, well, what do you like? What do you like? Not the people around you, the place you want to go. Like, what do you like, and what does it feel like? And I think so. I had to get to a place of pretty significant discomfort and pain, um, to know that for me to be able to survive, it the situation very much has to, um, be in line with what's important to me, and what's valuable to me. Is every day, do I skip into work every day? Of course not. I am not like, good morning. I mean, there are things, days, I hate paperwork. Being a physician, you're like inundated with paperwork and notes and insurance stuff and patients that are just like, give me, make me happy, make me better, make me. I mean, and that can be draining. But in the larger scheme of things, I do just I just really, really feel that I can be my authentic self where in the jobs that I'm in. I can be my authentic self with the people that I work with. Of course, within bounds. I'm not going to cuss my boss out. I'm not going to, be inappropriate with a patient or say something out of the side of my mouth. But I can be Shunda. And that also feels good. That also feels good. Hey, Claudia.
So I actually have a question for you. What if you don't like the people you work with? Like I don't like them.
Mm-hmm,
To
mm-hmm,
be perfectly honest with you. I mean, there's some people that I like, but I work at a prison, so it's kind of an unpleasant environment. I am
mm-hmm,
not there for the staff. I am
mm-hmm.
not there for the environment. I love my patients. I
Mm.
love working with my patients. I work with people who are dangerous due to mental illness and they're civilly committed
Oh,
indefinitely
oh
until they
wow.
can stabilize and kind of demonstrate that they're safe enough to leave. And I really enjoy that work. I really enjoy the patients, but I can't
Mm.
even, I'm having like, if that's what it takes to be successful, where I gotta like all the people and like the environment, oh my.
Well, I mean, and I guess I'm not trying to put I mean, there's just, not everybody likes me, and I don't like everybody. Um, so in the position that I have now, there's a woman who is we're a dyad, and we've struggled. We have very much struggled to create a functional working relationship, have very different ways of relating to the work, to each other, um, to the leadership team that we're a part of. Um, and and she is the person that I have to work most directly with to get things done. And I've considered, like, maybe I should February 2022. I can put in my resume. I can put in my resume. I'm gonna put in my resume. I mean, my resign. I'm gonna resign and start looking for another job. It's already like I'm not liking this. I don't like this. And in thinking about not liking it, reframing, like, well, if you don't like it, is there something that you want to get out of this before you leave? And so starting to, instead of, because I would come home and every night, oh my God, this woman, I'm talking to my wife, I'm talking to my friends, I'm like writing in my journal. But reframing that, like, this is I really think this is a very cool job. And it's been set up in a way where you're in this like leadership, clinical, larger hospital system developmental thing. And it's such a unique experience that focusing, literally when I started focusing on, okay, I'm going to be here another year. What am I going to get out of this? What skills am I going to take to my next job? I don't know what happened, but magically I've been able to have a better working relationship with her. I don't like her. I don't like her. I don't like her. But because there are now goals that I want for this job and things that I want to get out of it and places that I want to take my career, that this job really gives me access to, that I wouldn't have access to. It's changed my perspective. It's changed my perspective. and I don't know that if I stayed in that place, I mean, like I said, I was thinking about when am I gonna give my letter of resignation? If I stayed in that place, I would have turned in my letter of resignation, because I can't abide being in a situation like that. And I don't know if you all have noticed, in pandemic, behavioral health, we are like solid. We never are solid gold, but we are solid gold right now. I cannot, the number of text messages, emails, phone calls, girl, please, please, can you please, you know anybody, you got anybody, we'll do this, we'll do that. I mean, and so right now, I don't know how long it's gonna last. We're a very highly valued commodity. And so the world has opened up for behavioral health in a way that I have not seen in the last 20 years. And so I don't know if that answers your question, but there's a reason that you stay there, and there's something that's happening to you in terms of your growth and your experience and your knowledge base and the kind of patients that you work with that have made you not walk out. I mean,
Right.
truly.
Right. And so, I mean, what I'm getting from what you're saying is that there has to be, I don't know if it's exactly that on balance, there's more positives, more growth enhancing than soul sucking situations, right? I don't know if it's an on balance kind of situation or just that focus, like what you were talking about, the things that were the most important to you that made it worth it to stay. But then there's the whole networking piece in that, right? So if I'm kind of surrounded by people who I don't super love and who really don't super love me either, because we don't do the work in a similar way, we don't see it similarly, so then I'm not likely to get any kind of invitations for my next job from any of those people. And so it kind of gets a little bit folded in on itself a little bit. And it seems like it's like, I think what I'm getting from what you're saying, it's not just about that piece that keeps you there, but you're able to have a wide enough variety of relationships that are really authentic to where you're able to continue your career with the help of these folks, going in different directions and that sort of thing. And I'm getting to the point where I'm almost retirement eligible, and I have like no kind of option. Federal government's a weird employer, but I'm going to be mandatory in less than 5 years into retirement. Yep. And so and I'm eligible in about 14 months, something like that. And I'm telling you, if I'm going to get another job, it's going to be on my own steam, and it's probably going to be Indeed or whatever those things were that you were mentioning. I don't know anything about that because I don't do social media really, but it's not going to be anybody helping me. And so I'm kind of interested in you and I have very different situations. I'm just interested in your thoughts on those kind of different situations from what you have.
That's fascinating. I guess I'm wondering about, like, when I think about the pool of people that I know that I've had these relationships over the years, they go beyond kind of the people at work. And so I can't imagine that you're at like retirement age, and through all of the years that you've been working, that there isn't this plethora, like literally, if you just like looked at your friend list, and I don't do any social media, so I don't know anything about that either, but just if I just go through my phone and look at the relationships that I've developed, I can't imagine that there would be no one there that if you said, man, I am getting ready to retire and I'm trying to think about my next steps and I don't know, like I can't imagine that there would be zero in a long professional career, that there would be zero insight into next steps. I mean,
So
I
you're
have,
talking about like beyond just your specific profession.
I mean, absolutely, absolutely. So I have made connections with, I've made the teller at my bank. We're real cool. The the woman who worked at Costco, that my mom's Costco down in Florida. I just got a call from her over the weekend. I mean, when I tell you that these people have hooked me up with other people, just because, I mean, and so just keeping it on this narrow band of like, well, I can only speak to the people that work in the hospital or the people that work in this and that. That's not been the case. Um, oh my God, I had a woman who she was uh, she sat at the door for the inpatient unit and she basically just buzzed. She just buzzed people in. She hooked me onto a job. I was like, okay. So I really, and that was just kind of just talking with her. And I'm like, girl, I'm looking for a job. And it's, I don't know what I'm going to do. She's like, oh, I know. So I'm like, really? You know, such and such? Let me call him up right now. She was the lady who did the door for the unit. So I just, and I wasn't having a conversation with her thinking like, oh, this person's going to hook me. I was just talking about what I was going through and what was happening. And so I do feel like that there are like so many, there's like the level of people who are your peers and your professionals and who work within your organization. And then there's people maybe that you're mentoring or that you have like influenced their life because you taught them, because you told them to apply for AGPA scholarship, because you welcomed them, when they went to the conference for the first time, and people that were at other organizations that you worked at, or people that were, from high school, or I mean, there are all these groups of people that just kind of float in, and I am constantly amazed, at the resources that people outside of my field have, and who they what they think about, and who they know and what they do. And so I w- I'm not even like work like for you. I'm not even worried about like the narrow band of people at your job. I mean, I want to use a four-letter word. Like, I don't care about them. I mean, you have so many levels and so much depth to kind of pull into. You and I are talking right now. I saw your name. I'm like, Elizabeth. That that is such a. Why do I know her? Wait, I know. I mean, for me to say, I know you. How do I know you? Can you turn on your? Yes, yes, you were at. Yes, now I know you. Now I'm like 202-421. Let's be friends. 6397. I mean, and truly in a more authentic, real way. And noticing kind of, who am I drawn to? Who do I like? Who do I vibe with? And it just brings up so many possibilities. So I just encourage you to not stick with this for your lifespan. Those folks are like this this big, truly. And you got all this up here and all this down here, and they're just a tiny little band. Teensy. Girl, call me. I'm just
You know,
saying.
yeah, what I'm really hearing from you, Shonda, and even though you kind of provide these different parameters earlier, but there's a general sense of, you talked about it, authenticity, but there's a general sense of curiosity that permeates your experience, and a general love for people. even though the people you might not like networking with, that kind of really helps to create the environment to allow you to connect and listen and have some general interest in the people that you're in with. That kind of helps to pave the way for some of the connections, or that has maybe helped your journey, open doors that you probably hadn't even considered or were in your space. I mean, I'm hearing a lot of that comes up, that general sense of curiosity and interest and engagement. Even though you may not like networking, there's an authentic way of being, that kind of brings that up.
Mm-hmm. And it's in an unplanned, like I did not sit and think, okay, after high school, I want to do this and I want to do that and I'm going to do this and then the next thing and the next thing. However, I am very, very involved and love community, mental health, public psychiatry. And if you trace back to college, you will see that thread like through my career, and it was absolutely positively not on purpose. There was nothing that I was like, this is the population I'm going to be working with for the rest of my life. um and here I am, based on exactly what you were talking about, that just knowing people, having relationships with people, that they say things and it perks my, oh, tell me about that. And you're not someone that I just met at some random social, that you're giving me your LinkedIn address. You're someone that I've known for the last 10 years, who's saying, girl, I found out. I'm like, really? Shut up. You think so? I mean, so it really is just, yeah, I can't. I admire people who are able to do that. I really, I mean, maybe I would have a different, I don't know, maybe I'd be chief or something. I don't know. If I was able to like run around and shake hands and drink champagne and do socials and ugh, but I don't think I'd be happy. I don't think I'd be happy.
This is so great. Like I want to share because um, I just realized I started to plot down my job history and the places that I went. And just like you, Shunda, it was all about relationships. Do you know, like, and because I've never been the type that can sit there. I have the hardest time. I'll push those things out on deadline at the last minute. But a lot of the jobs I got, the jobs before I turned in the paperwork. Like, and that would come like sort of like, okay, now you got to do that. But I was like thinking even when I was a journalist initially, like in some of those jobs, only my first one did I really kind of apply for. And then even I got, as a journalist, I really started to police beat. Like I loved politics, but then the police beat. And then I started to interview the kids in gangs, you know, the people getting arrested, the stuff that you don't hear from the police. And that's what got me interested in doing our line of work, you know, because the needs were so great. And at some point you're tired of writing about it, like it doesn't do very much, you know. And I was thinking about that, and my favorite job, one of my very favorite jobs, was like at Addictions Halfway House on the west side of Chicago for men. And I got that by placing a homeless person there, like going over to see it, you know, and then I just got along with the staff so nicely. And then that was how I got there. Do you know, and Bob Lipgar, who's an AGPA guy from long ago, he used to do some consulting there. And that's how I decided partly to go to school and my doctorate. You know, I had addictions credentials, and even two things, patients. I was realizing that there was a patient that helped. Oh, when I had my first office, like the group room was tiny, like, and these patients were saying, like, why don't you go around the corner over there, which is where I have my private practice now, downtown, you know, on the 18th floor. And then also, there was another thing with a patient too, like that I can't remember right now, but it's I took some notes, but I'm like so flustered thinking about this. And then in an agency, there was a psychologist that did great testing, do you know, when I was really impressed by him. And then I ended up, that's the school that I ended up going to, and I ended up working in his practice. Like, I was just thinking about that. And I was also thinking, for me too, like, I have a hard time doing anything that I don't like. Do you know, like in newspapers that used to be like, I hated the editing part, like layout. Do you know, and I would just kind of fumble and screw that up. And eventually I got out of doing it. I was just, and so like what I got out of listening to this is just about how we could be real, like, and being real that will take us, you know, where we need to go. Like, and sometimes the other thing that I thought about too is that sometimes I rush too much and don't talk to the person at the desk. You know, I was thinking about how, like, I feel like I sort of lost that in recent years of just being too busy and stuff. And that I love doing that. I love to talk to, you know, people here and people there, and you learn so much. You know? Thank you so much for sharing, because it just, we get to be human, like, you know. And I was thinking too, Elizabeth, with what you were saying, you know, because I've been, you know, in jail and in forensic settings, and like the attitude of people, like not just there, but a lot of settings, it's like a job, you know, they line up at 5 o'clock to leave, you know, and there isn't that passion, you know, and yet sometimes I've been in places where my favorite thing was really the patients or the clients, you know, and there wasn't really anybody on the team, or maybe one person. And I was thinking about how that's really enough, you know, too, you know, it's cool.
And I imagine when you're at your next phase, whatever that is, when you're interviewing and you talk about your experiences at the job and your experiences with your patients, the joy that you experience taking care of them is going to come through. That is going to be very, very clear. And even in this little brief exchange, I feel it. I feel you're like, I'm totally there for the patients. These are, you know, imprisoned, mentally ill, gonna be there for an undetermined amount. I'm totally there for them. I'm like, oh, tell me more. You know, like, tell me more.
But then they're going to ask me, so how do you do on teams? Well,
depends on the team. Like, right.
Yeah, I mean, and it does. I mean, and I will answer that authentically as well. I mean, because you know, I do my best on teams. I do the best that I can, and this is how I manage conflict on teams, because I expect conflict. If it's a good team, then we should be able to manage some conflict. And so, I don't feel like there's any. Yeah, I can't. I just. Yeah.
so I think part of what you're saying is that just the artificiality and the superficiality of the whole networking scene makes it very difficult to do what it is that you're talking about that works for you. I mean, it's basically a barrier to you doing what's worked best for you.
Absolutely.
And so really it's more, and it's also kind of set up. I mean, it sounds to me like you are very spontaneous. You kind of find these opportunities all over the place, just because of how you conduct yourself and how you live your life. And so this whole setup, superficial, artificial, let's all, you know, hold hands and get along and exchange little LinkedIns and whatnot, it just doesn't work for you.
I would not be employed.
It kind of makes me wonder why it works for anybody the more we're talking about it. Like, who are these people?
They play the game, so whatever game that is.
Yeah, and they write books about it. I mean, I read these, like, you know, professional workbooks, like from good to great, dare to lead, you know, like the first 90 days. I mean, and they all are like, you know, you gotta, you know, go out and have drinks, and you gotta, you know, hang with your boss, and you gotta, you know, sip out of the water cooler, and you gotta do that. And I'm like,
I don't even like doing those at parties, like at work parties or something. Like, I'm done in an hour, like at the most, you know, like it's hard.
I don't go to work parties. I mean, I don't. I mean, there are people at work that I go out to dinner with, but I don't go to work parties. I
Yeah.
mean, if they ask me as a director to throw a party, I can I would like get the room ready. I'd have the food there. I'd have everything, and then I go home. I'm like, y'all enjoy. I'm going home. I can't do this. I can't do this. And so, I mean, it clearly is not. It doesn't work in every situation under all circumstances, because there are people that want you to be a certain way, and so there are times when I have to take a lick, because I can't do it, or I won't, bend in that direction, and that's what has to happen. I take the lick. Um, so it's not like I mean, again, it's every day isn't wonderful, and some days are more frustrating. But I've found for me that this is just a much more fulfilling and tolerable way to not get burnt out in my career. Because I think that I'm trying to preserve whatever longevity I have, and being in a place where it just feels good. It feels good to do the work. You know, will keep me in the seat doing the work than if I'm somewhere and I'm not authentic. And I want to be mindful of the time because I know you ladies may have some things you do at the end.
Shunda, can I make an observation?
Please.
That to me, you are doing networking 2.0 in that you are networking with those folks that you like and you build a relationship with. And that is how you've been able to get into different positions, do different things. So it's not your typical networking, but it's Shunda style. It's your own style of how you do your connections.
But it's called friends. These are my
Yeah.
friends.
Like the word
You know?
itself is annoying, like, right?
I mean, yeah,
Even
I'm
though
like,
it's true what Marce is saying, it
yeah.
qualifies, but
Mhm.
as
But like I would have I would invite her to my house. If she came to Boston, I would say, we got a room for you. Come on. I mean, I just can't imagine me doing that for someone I'm networking with. But I get your point. I get your point. And I yes, and I have deeply felt emotions for the people that I extend myself to and extend this energy to. And it's not everybody. I'm trying to be nice to respectful to everybody, but you ain't coming to my house. No, there are people that will not be coming to my house. Period.
To me, it just seems that it starts at a different place. Yours starts at a place of, I like you and I'm connecting to you, versus when people say networking, they say it like, I'm networking for a purpose. I'm networking
Yes.
to be manipulative of that.
yeah,
Yours is how
real.
networking really should be, in that it's natural and it flows out of a sense of connection versus out of it being like, this is transactional. Like,
That's your
I do this
job.
for you, you do this for me, versus your way is like, hey, I like you, I'm interested in you, let me know more about you. And you develop that sort of connection.
Yeah. 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 And I never start out like, what's your job? Where you work? Who you know? What you do? It's like, you like ice cream? I love ice cream. Let's go get some ice cream.
Right.
I appreciate Dr. Turner's frame on, like, we won't say the word networking. Well, I guess I just said it, but the 2.0 version, that what you're doing, these authentic connections that you're building. And one of the things that seems significant to me in this too, is that you are working in agency and institutional settings and in universities and teaching. A lot of individuals who don't like to network wind up in private practice. And so it's interesting that you have found yourself in such a relational community and where you do have to work with counterparts and you do have to do that. And so it just speaks to the way you formulated those relationships, because I think a person who truly doesn't do the networking and the connecting would be in private practice. Not that that's bad. That just, yeah.
That could be a networking thing too. A lot of people do that. Like I get most of my referrals from other patients that refer patients, but like I've seen people having coffee with clinicians and like going to those, like, do you know, like there's like those big meetings and stuff that seem mostly to exchange cards for referrals, you know, like, but I don't know. This way we get to have fun too.
And there's nothing wrong with networking. I mean, I don't want to downplay it. I mean, they write books on it. People do graduate thesis things on it. I mean, it clearly is an effective way of getting stuff done. So I think I may be an outlier. I just, so just take it, you know, take it for that.
And don't undo what you've done.
You're an effective
That's right, girl.
outlier. You're an effective outlier.
No, because I was thinking about what Marseille said, and it's like you could probably take this thing and turn it into a book that will sell just as many copies as those other ones that you were pointing out. But it might like ruin what you have, you know, like what you think of as just me and not putting words to it, you know.
Yeah, I couldn't, yeah, which it would, because then they'd make me explain it, like package it, the 10 rules to anti-networking. I don't know, eat ice cream. I mean, I don't know. It's like, no, Rochelle, you know.
I love it.
Yeah, I think it highlights the this of each of our journeys, right? That takes us from point A to point B, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the same. It doesn't have to be how the books or how networking has been defined. And I think to Marseille's point, it's uniquely you. So I think part of the message is helping each of us to kind of find that uniqueness within each of us, right? That sense of authenticity that can help us, particularly as women, right? Where we might think in terms of the world of networking or advancing our careers or these different things we need to do. You know, I think earlier you mentioned about a point of time when you're in college where you were really just miserable, and then kind of finding your authentic self, your authentic place, and then navigating through that. So I think that's one of the things, that's resonating from your share, about just really kind of being grounded in that particular place.
Yeah, that's great. And someone else's place might be networking. They may just be like, this is awesome. This feels great. I love it. I'm like,
I have this bad memory of like in finishing psychology school, and someone who spoke to us, like a career psychologist, said something like about, and you have to go to the Chamber of Commerce and all of these other things. And I'm like, I'm not going to the Chamber of Commerce. Like, there was no way that I could even picture that, and they were all like, I'm going,
Totally. And I love doing things like this because I get to hear different people's experience, and inevitably I find someone's experience that resonates with me. I find a lot of experiences that don't. And so if what I've said, does not resonate, how many more of these are we going to have? I mean, there's going to be someone that's going to say something that you're going to say, yes, that I could do that. That feels like something comfortable for me. That feels like something that would make me feel good. And that's really the important thing.
But even here, I didn't know speaking to what you were saying about people and human beings, I had no idea what your topic was. I just saw your name today. Like I hadn't seen it until today that you were presenting. And it's like, oh, if my meeting ended early on time, I'm coming. I had an AGPS thing. And so I think, right, that don't we sort of follow, lots of times the topic doesn't matter. Like we follow, like, who do we want to hear from? That's kind of neat,
Really neat, really neat.
I just want to say, Shunda, and hello, everybody. In hearing share your experience of, how you connect with others in the pursuit of your professional growth and personal growth. I have the image of, maybe it's a gender thing, and some people network, and networking kind of have a connotation of stepping out. And other people, I invent, a way of looking at it, which is some people work in the net instead of. So working in the net is really creating those connections with others that will help with your growth and nurturing without having to do something as artificial as networking. It feels very artificial to me, and I hate it. So working in the net instead of networking, maybe
It's more of a community organizing term. That's where I've heard that term, like in community organizing,
I'm thinking about relational aspects, not at that level. Just thinking about, what nurtures you, where do you find food, where do you find support, at the personal level and professional level. And I'm thinking, Elizabeth, that maybe that's, if you turn it around, and instead of feeling that you need to go out in the world and network, and just work in your own net, which is what, in different words was inviting you to do, it may feel more organic and spontaneous, and it may be actually enriching and more productive. That's just what I wanted to say.
Enriching, that's a great, yes. So, much more enriching. That's really a great, the experience feels like something is happening to me internally, that I'm not just like moving up the ladder, but it's just, it really.
Yeah, so thank you, Shunda, for inspiring some of these thoughts.
Wow, that's great. I really like that.
One of the things that you've also demonstrated here, Dr. McGahee, tonight is the way that these relationships have sustained throughout years. Before we had started, and Rochelle and you might figure that part out later, the first year that you met Rochelle at an AGPA, and realizing the way, as you have mentioned, the relationships you have with the other women in this meeting right now. I think there is something about following up, keeping that consistency, showing back up the next year, and making sure to go back through those relationships. I hear that continuity, that thread, just weaved throughout future years. And maybe that helps because you like them. You don't feel like it's like this show that you've got to show back up and look for these list of people. It's real. And so you do want to see them again the next year.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I mean, I think I started coming to AGPA my third year of residency. I finished training in 2008, so maybe it's like 2006. And so I've been to tons of institutes, tons of conferences, met a bunch of people, you're like, woo woo, I'm crying. It's, something happened, whatever. And I'm like, all right, bye. But then there are people like Rochelle. I think in the years that I've known you, maybe we've been in one or two groups over the years. We've been in one or two. And I still remember that fly ass white suit she had on. The first time I saw her, I was like, oh, girl, that's right. Work those heels. She was looking around. Right. Where is this? I remember that. How much time do we have? I wasn't sure.
4 minutes.
Yeah,
4 minutes?
usually we wrap up at 9:15, so we've
Oh,
got
okay,
about 4
okay.
more minutes remaining.
4
Yeah.
minutes. Any, I think as I have gotten older, one of the things that I've found very, very helpful and interesting to me is mentoring, and that may come in teaching or supervising. And I am pretty impressed at where the trainees go, once they're go, once they're out. And just like you said, Katie Steele, Carmen was your supervisor who brought you to AGPA, who like, and now here you are chairing this meeting, and you're co-chair the women's SIG. I mean, so it's like the people that kind of who are like in training and curious, like I mean, I like teaching, so I do kind of go that route. And so that's always another kind of area. And it may not even be just it may be, I mean, the lady at the front desk was looking for another opportunity, and she and I had lunch, and I was like, oh, I found about this. I don't know. Here's something for you. I mean, so that kind of also thinking about the other. Like, I thought of you when this came. They may never use it. They may think, why are you bringing this to me? But there's something that's very gratifying as well in the reciprocity. So something made me think of you, and I thought this would be of interest to you. And it just kind of like circulates, and it circulates. So that would be really the other piece. And maybe in that constantly thinking of someone else, it makes me more aware of my environment, because now I'm looking around and I'm thinking about, oh, such and such would like that. Oh, I saw that, there was an article. It's really it just creates just a broader space for things to come in.
Which reminds me that I wanted to say before that, like in the last 10 years, I recruit a lot of people for the places that I'm involved with, and then you end up assembling your own team, kind of, like it makes such a big difference, right? When you can kind of have a say, even if it's one or two.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and Elizabeth, I wanted to say to you that it feels like the field is so wide open now. Like everybody's looking for therapists. Like, I don't know if once you leave there, if you're interested, but people are going right out of school. This is in Chicago. I think it's like that everywhere, into group practices, like skipping kind of steps that most of us took. The agencies, I'm involved with a treatment center outside my private practice, and like we're having so much trouble like recruiting for good pay, like full-time clinicians that will stay, and so I think that people that are retiring and want to still work, like in this field, like, Shunda, you were saying that earlier, it feels quite open for that, But I was thinking, Marce, didn't you relocate not so long ago?
I'm in Metro Atlanta now.
Oh, that's what I thought. Yeah. Was that been like 2 years now?
It's been a year.
Okay.
Yep, it's been
During the pandemic. Did that go well?
It did. I'm here with family, so I'm appreciating that.
Oh, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best.
Well, we are so delighted that you have taken the time to join us in this conversation. And Dr. McGahee, it's been a really lovely talk, just really an authentic space to share about your experiences, and really how the things that we think we may not really love or hate, there are aspects that we can reframe it. I think Marce really said it best, that we find our own niche in reframing those experiences and making it sustainable, making it engaging, and really kind of finding our own voice and love through that. So thank you so much for being with us. And to all of you that are present, have been present here, we really appreciate your time. And to those that are listening or watching this, thank you for taking that time. And we hope that you found something in this space that resonates, or at least will support your connection with others and with the work that you do. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Work the net. Work the
You.
net. Work the net. That's going to be my 2022. Work your net, girl. Work it.
You're gonna have to create a dance. Choreograph a dance.
Oh, that's great. Thank you all. It's been great.